This is the first part of my series on scribe training. We started with the Gorian caste system. First part of the training normally is on the characteristics of a scribe. The second has to do more with caste system. So we're going to jump right in there. Society of Gore is divided into groups referred to as castes. Each caste is made up of its own profession or occupation. Castes are ranked according to their particular place in Gorian society. Many castes, meaning like the initiates first, um, scribe is second. Um, there are no they are particular to unique activity in need of a profession. Um, Algorian, excluding the priests, kings, slaves, and outlaws, belong to a particular caste, and we're going to cover those in a separate section. The priest, king, slave, and outlaws belong to a particular caste. Gorian caste lines follow more from birth and occupation, but not always. Those born of mixed caste companionships retain the caste of their father. Now, that is interesting because a lot of times you're going to find people come in a role play um, saying that their mother was a scribe or something. Therefore, they're a scribe. And that's not true. They should retain the caste of their father or be trained. Each caste had a set of codes which help them maintain a series of beliefs and rules for its members. Even scribes, that's why I talked about the qualities of a scribe. Those caste codes were put back in Second Life Gore back in 2005. A group of people from FINA sat down and developed what they consider the caste codes. Each caste code is different and deals mainly with matter-specific interests of that caste. Most major castes have their own colors called caste colors. We're going to cover that next. Colors are often worn by members to display outwardly to others what castes are associated with. Some people abuse that, but they should be wearing, if they're doing their caste at that time, wearing colors associated with that. Physicians green, scribes blue, banners, flags, and sometimes colors of building reflects caste colors. You go into a city, you'll find a banner, usually blue, for instance, for the scribes, green for the physicians, red for the warriors. And usually it's a banner on the front of the buildings. Other can see at a glance by clothing what caste they're affiliated with. And that's more valid. They're not supposed to be looking at your tag. They're supposed to be looking at what you're wearing. It's like dressing to go to work. Mm. Physicians, the caste is green. Those who are concerned with the healing belong to this caste. Members include surgeons, apothecary, medical research, health practitioners. Now, what's interesting about that is probably the most organized of all the castes. That's varied a few years ago. The scribes were extremely well organized. Some people went to dust and aren't available anymore. So I'm hoping to see that change over time. But the point of it is they're extremely well organized. They do autopsies. My city has a morgue where they actually go down there and do autopsies. That's quite a dialogue and war play. But they train in just about everything. Warriors. Their caste color is scarlet. They're members of the military, such as infirmaries. Valerian cavalry and Tarnsmen fill this caste. And there are Tarn races or Arthurian races. Their set of codes is known to be one of the strictest and the best lined out. The caste compares with the military branch of the Gore government. Uh, Governmental leaders like Ubars usually come from the warriors, although they don't have to. But since they lead the military, they tend to do that. Um, it's not, they're like third or fourth. I think they're one, two, they're way down the line in terms of henpeck order, but consider themselves extremely important, which they are. They protect the city. But in terms of running it, administering it, they're just like in real life, they're the arms of the government, but they don't run it, they don't make law. Anyway, that's it. Now I'm going to go through each one individually and add some icing on the cake, and then we'll. Initiate caste, also known as the blessed caste. Caste. In some cases, you'll refer to an initiate as blessed, whatever his name is. It's the highest of the five castes on Gore. The caste color is white. The color is often associated with impartiality and justice. Notice in the picture there's a odd ring. Almost all the altars
Yeah.
to the initiates have a. That's my slave talking. Notice in the top corner there's a ring. Almost all of the initiate altars have that. I'm sorry. Um, Initiates wield vast power, primarily based on the support of the lower caste. Second, like Gore, there is no support of the lower caste, so that's only in the books. Additional details about the caste of initiates. Initiates regard themselves as the most important caste on Gore, except in Second Life Gore. They're a wealthy and powerful class. Initiates are well organized, industrial. They are well organized. I have a couple of their books that go through their prayers and their how they do business, and it's extremely well written out. Nishas have many monasteries, holy places, and temples. They all have temples throughout Gore. Most of the cities have an initiate area. May not be an initiate there, but they always build it. Nisha is considered a possible intermediate in the mysterious priest kings. The religious conditioning of the Minagore, quote, based on superstition though it might be, was as powerful as a set of chains more powerful than chains because they did not realize it existed. They fear the word, the curse of this old man without weapons more than they would have feared mass swords on 1,000 foremen, the townsmen of Gore. Fact of the matter was, as I read earlier, many ubars and ministers don't want initiates on the sim because by the book they wield vast authority and they don't like dealing with it. And basically, the if you're blessed and they happen to have one in your city, they will come in and do ceremonies 4 times a year, slaughter a lamb, things like that. So they are active. They're just not active in Second Life Gore. Caste of Scribes. Scribes are second in the rank of the high five, the five castes. Keepers of knowledge in Gore. That is true in Second Life Gore. Caste color is blue. They write down the history of the law and traditions of Gore, which is also true in Second Life Gore. They're responsible for educating the lung, preserving Gorean culture. Also true of Gore, Second Life Gore. They're a valuable asset to Gore and they're respected by all. That depends on the city, a tremendous amount. Um, Additional details about the Caste Scribe. They're trained by a young age in the art of reading and writing. Somebody that's not good at reading and writing should not be a scribe, real life or second life. Essentially, it's the wrong caste if you have trouble reading, and I see too many that want to take it up. They're usually serious and studious students, expected to be accurate, meticulous in their work, and have a passion for knowledge. That is true in Second Life Gore. There are several subcastes in this caste, which includes cartographers, clerks, scryers, scholars, writers, geographers, magistrates, and litigators. Quote, the scribes, of course, are those scholars and clerks of Gore. Their division and rankings among the group, they're simple copies, the savants of the city, which is true. Tarnsman and Gore, page 44. Caste of builders. Builders are the third in the rank of five castes responsible for designing and constructing buildings, roads, bridges, which is true in Second Life. Okay, the caste code is yellow. They create the infrastructure of Gore. When you see their banners, they use yellow and white, some people. Additional details. For one, they're trained from a young age. If you notice, in every one of these castes are trained from a young age in the books. They're responsible for building the fortifications and protect the cities from attack. That is true in Second Life. These cities vary a great deal as to the fortifications, always the builders that set that up. I'm presuming that some of them listen to the warriors, but the fact of the matter is, if you go to Census, which is vastly different than, let's say, Thermos, which has, Census has more zip lines and relies more on tarns to come off the walls. So it really does. The military for and in Terminus, they have a lot of underground tunnels for the warriors to run through, just like in Oni. And I'm talking Second Life. I've been in all those cities. So the point is they do. Builders include architects, draftsmen, stonemasons, engineers. But being honest, just have to be a good scripter. Quote, of general interest to me was the fact that this room, prima though it might be, was lit by what Gorians called an energy bulb, an invention of the builders. I could neither see cords nor battery ones, yet the room was filled with a soft, gentle white light, and the physicians could regulate by rotating the base of the bulb. Captive Agord, pages 93 through 94. Very important caste. There are not many that are good at it. Warriors. Warriors in the fifth of the high caste, many that are on the bottom, are responsible for the defense of Gore. Color scarlet. I call it red, but women call it scarlet. Oh well. They are trained from a young age in all forms of combat, including hand-to-hand weapons and mounted warfare. In Gore, that in Second Life Gore, that's very, very true. They do mounted hand-to-hand and weapons. They're expected to be physically fit and strong. They must be able to endure hardships and pains. Warriors are seen as symbols of strength and power, which is very, very true. Additional details about the Castegorian term for warrior is raris, and that's usually what you're going to hear unless you have Rurai in the plural form. The conduct of war is governed by the Warriors Code, which is actually one of the strictest and most laid out codes in the Book of Gores. Why is that important for a scribe? Simply, if you have to go to court and a warrior is involved, the warrior codes will tell you if he stepped out of the bounds of what he's supposed to be doing. So every scribe should know what the warrior codes and the other codes are, but especially the warriors. They expect to be loyal to their clan and to their homestone. They can rise to high positions in the government, such as the position of Ubar. My personal opinion is the problem with making a warrior an Ubar is they're not trained in law. They're not usually not trained in administration. So what you have is a warrior whom primarily is trained to do war, suddenly promoted to administering a city and having no background in it. Um, that's why I really now Ubar is technically a military position, but the fact of the matter is, what they usually do is tend to make proclamations about the direction the city's going, things like that. This is Second Life Gore, of course. And so, my own personal opinion is you should not make a new bar out of a warrior because warriors are not trained to do cities, which may explain why so many fall, to be honest. Uh, on the other issue of Ubar, according to the books, Ubars are only warriors should only be Ubars in case of war, and it's supposed to be rare and far in between. Many cities start out with Ubars leading them. It's not by the book. Go do some research in that area as a scribe. You'll find out quickly that it says if a man chooses to stay in military dictatorship, he'll eventually be overthrown, which is very real life in that area by his own warriors. So my point is that if your city's by the book, they A, will not start out with a new bar, B, it has to be in war conditions, and C, does not necessarily need to be from the warrior class. In fact, but that's my opinion. Quote, what is it to be a warrior? It's trying to keep the codes. Nothing else matters. Beasts of Gord, page 340. Another quote. Steals the coinage of the warrior, says the codes. What it purchases, what pleases him. Marar Zagor, page 10. You pay for the warriors, basically. But in Second Life Gore, it's a whole different ball game, but that's beside the point. Anyway, that's it on the 5 casts.